Welcome to the CPG Guys podcast. Your hosts, Shri Rajagopalan and Peter V.S. Bond, explore how brands and retailers engage consumers in an increasingly digitally driven world. And now, here are the CPG Guys. Hi, I'm Peter Bond from the CPG Guys podcast, and you're listening to the CPG Guys podcast.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the CPG Guys podcast. I'm of course Shri, co-founder and co-host of the CPG Guys, co-founder and partner of Think Blue, your key to unlocking your profitability potential. Build as connectors and amplifiers, we shape the future of commerce to drive your growth. Please do listen to my older daughter Ria Raj's music, www.riaraj.com, and my younger daughter Lara Raj is a member of the Geffen Records Universal Music Group Cat's Eye. They just announced their tour on the Jingle Ball series in Dallas and Boston in December. Touch, their hit single, is now crossed 80 million plays on Spotify. Joining me today, and that's why he kicked off the episode saying, "Hi, I'm Peter S. Bond." Of course, is my best friend Peter S. V. S. Bond, and when he's not co-hosting this podcast, he serves as partnership acceleration lead at Flywheel, division of Omnicom that helps enterprise brands improve their SEO and HM, growing their e-commerce businesses. I'm going to say hello to him in two ways. My podcast partner, Mr. Bond, how are you? My guest on the hot seat, and I'll explain in a minute why. You ready for this? How you doing, man?
I'm ready. Bring it. I'm doing okay, man. As we're recording this, Game 5 of the NLCS is on, and the Dodgers are losing 10-6, but it's better than where they were a couple minutes ago, which was 10-2.
Well, it was 9-1, so they've clawed 8 runs back. Out of 8, they've clawed 5 back. So
I know.
yesterday's Yankees game shows 2 or 3 runs is a very narrow number in the playoffs when two elite teams play each other.
And you know, I've got tickets for Game 6 of the ALCS, but despite their rather ignominious defeat last night, I still have faith that the Yankees are going to close this out in 5 and make it to the Fall Classic. 1980, what was it? 1978, 77, 78.
40 plus years. So it's darn well about time. But before I continue this conversation with Peter, I want to ask you to consider following us in your preferred podcast listening app. If you don't already do so, this will ensure you automatically receive new episodes as they're released. While you're at it, follow our sister podcast, the FMCG Guys, and the CPG Scoop with Risa and Jennifer. This year, we're partnering with Drugstore News on December 4th at the iconic Lincoln Center in Manhattan, New York, on the annual Issues Summit in its 21st edition. We'll be co-presenting 8 awards at the event in the health and beauty care space to both brands and retailers. We're also partnering with the Path to Purchase Institute, the annual Omni Shopper Awards Chicago, November 14th. Select group of winners will feature on the CPG Guys. To be part of sponsor, get in touch with us at contact@cpgguys.com. And the main event, announcing the first ever retail media executive ed program in our industry. From May 5th to 8th, 2025 at Cornell Tech, the CPG Guys are strategic partners for this immersive 4-day program that brings together industry thought leaders and renowned faculty to share best practice for building competitive retail media platforms. You'll discover how to collaborate in creating best-in-class tech stacks, measure performance to ensure brands access the necessary KPIs based on campaign objectives, and establish strong partnerships between brands and retailers. In addition, the program covers optimizing brand strategies using AI-driven campaign design at scale to achieve marketing goals. Links to our podcast, sistercast, social media profiles of my daughters Ria and Laura, my wife's podcast, how to register for PDPI Live, Drugstore News Issue Summit, and for more on information on the Cornell Retail Media Program, you can find those in the digital liner notes in this podcast. And why Mr. Peter Bond kicked off this episode? He's my guest on the hot seat as he just came back from Amazon Unboxed. So today, let's discover all things Amazon Unboxed, from what it is, why Peter went, who he met. He conducted 2 live podcasts. I'm going to ask him what was in those 2 live podcasts and what we can expect. And most importantly, what is the value proposition of going to Unboxed? So, Peter, you ready for this?
Let's bring it.
All right, man. So let's jump right in. Question number 1 for you, Peter. For the audience that doesn't know, and for the audience that does know, what is Amazon Unboxed?
Amazon Unboxed is one of its 2 premier conferences that it hosts every year. The first one they do is in September. It's called Accelerate. That's more focused on the 3-piece sellers. Okay. Those are the people that are challenger brands. They're hands-on keyboard. They're building a business from the ground up, and they're focused on servicing the needs of sellers. This conference is specifically about Amazon advertising, and it's really focused on their big enterprise customers. So think the Procter and Gamble's or Nestle's or Mondelez's of the world, right? Ones that are selling 1P first party through Vendor Central. So that means they're selling into warehouses. Amazon controls the inventory, sets the pricing, and does everything. And this is about how these brands can leverage. The big word of this conference was full funnel. So that on the first day in the keynote address, I counted, it was mentioned 29 times. 29 times. So clearly they were trying to get a message to us, but it's about the full funnel advertising capabilities that Amazon Ads offers to brands looking to grow their business. So this conference was all celebrating what's new, what's innovative at Amazon advertising, which is far and away the largest and predominant retail media network in the United States and rivals global as well.
I understand why full funnel. We'll get to that in a second, but what's the role profile of a brand that should actually be at unboxed? And then I have a very important question for you, Peter. It's Amazon, and likely the answer to this question is no, but should other retailers actually start going to Amazon unboxed?
The bigger question is, would Amazon permit that to happen? I think probably not. So I'd have to see, but I think they would have a fundamental problem with other RMNs coming to their conference and taking a look at what they're doing. Now, in the conversations I had with them, they really don't, at least they certainly say that they don't look at anyone else as really their competition. They think they are a cut above everything else. But that said, I doubt they would there. The archetype of the people that are going there are numerous. There are the clients, the advertisers, right? So all of those big brands. And who are the people that are coming? They're typically the people that are involved in e-commerce and that are involved in media. Sometimes they're the client leads calling on Amazon, but generally speaking, it's people that are directly involved in SEO and SEM, search engine optimization, search engine marketing. Not so much the hands-on keyboard people, much more of the senior level people for to whom all those hands-on keyboard people report up to, right? The second there is a group that is called the Amazon Ads Partner Network, right? So this is hundreds and hundreds of companies like my company, Flywheel, its competitors, all sorts of companies that are involved in the Amazon ad tech stack or in a consultancy or agency relationship that help brands advertise and measure the performance through Amazon Ads. So those are like the most of the people that were there. As an example, Flywheel was the diamond sponsor. They were the biggest. We had a very big booth in a what would be typically referred to as a trade show floor hall, right? That was the connections hub. This is where all of the service providers could display some of their wares, meet with people, meet with brands and Amazon people, and that was where they went in between the various keynote or breakout sessions that were occurring during the 2-day event. I arrived on a Monday night. We as Flywheel threw a party Monday at the iconic Lambert's barbecue joint right downtown near Ladyburg Lake, and had probably about 100 people show up.
He has to make me jealous.
It was good, Shri. It was good. And they had all sorts of vegetarian options for barbecue as well. And it was really, really good. It was good. So, but then everything kicked off Tuesday.
Hold on, Peter. Hold on. I actually want you to benchmark programming by day with grocery shop. So grocery shop kicks off. It's not a Sunday. Sunday is when people have the pre-events. CPG guys had one this year. Monday, Tuesday, and half day Wednesday. There's a convention floor. You can go meet with service providers. There's some keynotes, and there's multiple tracks of learning.
Yeah.
Give me the benchmark. What did you see? How many days?
Day one kicks off at about 10 a.m. and it is a series of keynote addresses. It featured Paul Kotis, who runs Amazon Ads. If anyone has ever seen the Disney movie Encanto knows that there's a line in the movie, "We don't talk about Bruno." Paul Kotis is, we don't talk about Paul. He's a mysterious person. You don't see, he has a very small footprint of a LinkedIn page, and you never see photos of him. He's a very nice guy, but he's a very reclusive when it comes to social media. So that's all I'm going to say about it. But he did appear on stage to kind of kick things off. Our other friend, Alan Moss, who runs ad sales, he was there. But it was also a lot of the product owners. You know, the last couple of years, the last 2 years, the event was held in New York, and it was emceed by a woman by the name of Colleen Aubrey. Colleen has since moved on over to the AWS side. So there was a bit of a void, and I think it was a shared responsibility where they were all kind of pitching in. But what you saw for the morning session was a series of, let's say, the business owners around the DSP, around streaming TV, around analytics, around Amazon Marketing Cloud. And what they did is they basically took the morning talking about all of the major product enhancements that they were introducing for the vendor community to leverage as a part of Amazon advertising. So there were all these, and that's what they've done in years past. So the first day is about, here are all these products. They had an afternoon session as well, where they did a bunch more. In fact, on there was a panel in the afternoon of the first day that was hosted by our dear friend Jeff Cohen, where he was talking to a bunch of agencies and brands about some of these enhancements. But that's really what day one is about. There are breakout sessions. You can go to the Connections Hub. What's fundamentally different about that versus Grocery Shop is very much an overt networking environment. What I mean by that is they have formal meetups. They have hosted meetings. You can open up the mobile app and look and see who else is at the conference. Amazon Ads had a mobile app. It was Bizzabo. It's a fairly popular app that gets reapplied. You remember, Shri, I think we used that at Cannes last year. But you really don't know who's there unless you know who's there. So you have to go up and meet people. And there are no speed dating events. So a lot of the service providers that are there and Amazon itself are booking appointments with all the brands who come there. So it's a busy day of one-off meetings that you may not be aware of are happening. But it's also an opportunity to immerse yourself in some of the latest and greatest coming from all the service providers that are in the Amazon Ads partner network. So that's kind of what day one is about.
How many of them did you see on stage? Was it all Amazon talking? Did you see service providers? Did you see agencies, which obviously brands have to work with? Like, who was on the main stage?
Yeah, there were. It was mostly Amazon people, but they obviously are trying to promote the entertainment aspects of their streaming television. So they brought on a number of celebrities. Dax Shepard was on there. My mind's blanking because a lot of them are not as relevant I'm a little bit older than probably the demographic they're going after.
Because of streaming TV, probably.
But they had a lot of interesting people. And they had a couple service providers. Flywheel's own Kirat Sharma, our chief technical officer, appeared via video. So did our dear friend Melissa Burdick from Packview.
Hey,
appear via video. But there you go. But it was mostly Amazon people that were on stage. That were Tanner Elton was up on stage, and he talked for quite a good deal of time. We saw Paula Despens, who I interviewed the following day, over in the podcast booth on the Connections Hub floor, where the Amazon ad partners were all on display, and it had quite a number of people. So they were just going through. There were a lot of really interesting product announcements audience bid boosting capabilities based on artificial intelligence that allows brands to create bid controls to focus on higher purchase intent shoppers. The biggest one for me, Shri, and you're going to love this. They now have fully functional multi-touch attribution through Amazon Marketing Cloud. That means that the old way of doing things, which was last touch model, right? Whatever was touched last gets most of the value. They're actually decomposing the contribution that every step of the advertising exposure, the multi-touches that happen, and they're helping you understand through Amazon Marketing Cloud measurement systems exactly how much each contributes and in what sequence, so that you can ultimately build out campaigns that deliver the most value at the lowest possible cost based upon what your objectives are. So multi-touch attribution. They had ADSP experiences with UI improvements, an ad data manager that simplifies first-party data management, so you don't have to be a SQL programmer to do things with it. Ad relevance that leverages propensity signals, addressability, and AI to match ads to relevant opportunities without the use of third-party cookies. Performance Plus, a new Amazon DSP campaign type that uses AI and first-party data for automated audience creation. They had Prime Video interactive ads, so the era of just having a QR code is gone. So many people use their remote controls with their Fire TV and their Amazon integrated television that they don't need QR codes anymore, that their consumers and their viewers are much more comfortable actually just using the mobile device to interact with the advertising. You know, they've got all sorts of other things, long-term sales, right? Metrics to measure the 12-month impact of brand campaigns, conversion path reporting, a lot around Amazon Marketing Cloud. Video. Oh, the really cool one is this AI capability, which is you show the very simple, basic two-dimensional image of a product, and then through a series of just a couple of clicks, it can turn that into a whole lifestyle experience. Let's say you're selling coffee mugs. Well, now you can actually create an interactive video image that goes on a product page, waves crashing against the ocean. And then the camera pans out, and there's the cup of coffee sitting on a rock by the ocean, and the steam is emitting from the coffee inside of it. All very simply AI generated. I mean, I can go on and on, but there was some, really, really, really cool things that I saw in these new products. And that was what day one was all about, showcasing all of these new products and putting the people up on stage that were leading the charge.
I want to get into all of this, but two things come to mind for me. First, I want to ask you about CMOs. Sounds like what you're trying to tell me is there's enough content and you saw enough to convince you, especially as you spoke full funnel, that Amazon is ready to be a national media player versus a lower funnel retail player. In that scenario,
without question,
CMOs prioritize CES and then they prioritize possible. Should unBoxed be a priority for CMOs?
Yes. Yeah. There should be 3 stops on the journey. They should be at CES, they should be at Cannes, and they should be at unBoxed. And unBoxed is interesting because unBoxed is the event in Austin was US centric. They have roadshows for unBoxed. They have one in Tokyo this year. They had one in Paris. They're putting one on in Dusseldorf. So they're starting, I think they've got even one planned for South America. They are really trying to make sure they're taking this on the road. And what's interesting is the one in Paris, it's in French. The one in Dusseldorf, Achtung baby. And in Tokyo, Domo arigato. It's in Japanese. So it's really trying not to be just that big American company taking their show on the road. They're really trying to be responsive to the local markets and the people there. Yeah, most of those people probably operate a good part of their business day in English, but sometimes communicating in their native language will sink in a lot easier.
I know you and I are going to go down to Walmart Chile in this mid-December, where we're presenting to Walmart Connect there. That's Santiago, Chile. The whole conference is going to be in Spanish. But what the team told me is they want us to speak in English. They're going to have instant language translation via a QR code in the screen behind us. That's the world we live in today.
Awesome.
So that should be a lot of fun. So,
you know what, Amazon unBoxed, not like a lot of companies, they had people there doing sign language. And I don't doubt that in short order they will offer the ability to listen in as it's happening in multiple languages.
So CMOs, let's say they should visit Amazon Unboxed.
They should. I didn't see a lot of those high-level people there. They should be there. They weren't there. Most of the people there were still the account manager and the e-commerce people.
In my eyes, that's a failure on behalf of Amazon
It's a big mess.
to communicate to the right people at the levels they're operating with.
You know, Sri, you and I have talked about this, but there's growth in brick and mortar is stagnant to declining right now. We know all these big brands are facing the pressure that they took as related to price, and now the chickens are coming home to roost. Meanwhile, e-commerce and digital is seeing tremendous growth.
Yeah.
The companies that don't get it are saying, you know what, I'm doing okay. I'm growing a lot in e-commerce. I don't need to put any more investment there. I need to solve my problem in brick and mortar. And you and I see that fundamentally different.
Let's just
You and I say, no.
state it. I want to state it one more time publicly. I've done cycles of business in my career in brick and mortar. I've done cycles of my business and of my career in e-commerce alone exclusively, and I've done cycles with both, as I just recently did with the General Motors company. Let me just state something categorically. One of the only pieces of growth left for a CPG company in our industry in retail is going to be e-commerce. Not even, I don't want to use fancy words like omni-channel and stuff like that. Maybe there's club, maybe there's a handful, depends on the category that you do business in. E-commerce is not debatable. Now, by the same token, why should you be omni-channel focused? You should be omni-channel focused because the shopper of today who shops your 80% business model in store is 100, not 96, not 95.5, not 98.13, 142.857 to the extent of pi. 100% of shoppers are digitally influenced, even to shop in store in a variety of ways, period. So that shouldn't be negotiable. But if we put that, CMOs are missing, topics seem to be awesome. You're talking about the approach for national media. Did you see agencies? And were agencies in discussion but were they in discussion as national media versus, yeah, we got to get on this platform and do retail media and search. National media is 360, which should include streaming TV.
So I would say that let me break national media into traditional advertising, the BBDOs of the world, right? There's also commerce marketing. So think Omnicom Commerce Group, TPN, Haygarth, Tracy Locke, some of those. A lot of those were there. Our dear friend JB, Jacqueline Baker, made an appearance along with quite a number of her team to walk the floors. I saw some VML people there as well. But I wouldn't say that I saw the traditional media, like as I said, the BBDOs or the DDBs and those guys. They weren't really there. And I think they probably should have been. The commerce people were there in spades, and the lower funnel search companies, the Flywheels and their major competitors, PackView and what have you, they were there in force. There were a lot of people there. So there's still some reservation, I guess. They leave it to the people that are focusing on search as the primary guests. I think that's a miss. I think more CMOs should be going there and seeing what's going on, because it's a pretty exciting time, and Amazon just keeps upping the bar, Sri. They just keep setting the tone for how everybody else is trying to catch up in retail media and capabilities. They talked about their publishing cloud, the ability now, it's not only Peacock, it's also Paramount. And you and I have talked about this. We firmly believe that most, if not all, of the streaming services in the next year to 18 months will plug into AMC. They have no choice.
I don't think they have a choice.
They need it to be able to reach the audience, and they need it to be able to measure. That's what brands are looking for. And they can fight it but I think it's, it's a fait accompli. They're going to have to get into that.
Well, I want to challenge brands and agencies. If you don't agree with us, come on the show, talk to us, tell us why that's not the case.
Tell us why not.
You're welcome. You're welcome on the show.
Come on. Let's duke it out.
Right at the beginning of the show, you mentioned doing 2 live podcast recordings. So can you tell us what the 2 were? And then can you, don't tease, but don't give away, and also tell people when they can expect the podcast. So let's start with the first one.
Yeah, that was actually Monday. So shortly after landing, I went right downtown. I picked up my badge at the convention center, and then I drove a couple blocks over, and I went to a WeWork office where I had a rented room, and I met up with our dear friend Nancy Winay, who is a previous podcast guest, who's now the head of grocery for Amazon Ads, and her colleague Jenny Burke, who is responsible for streaming TV advertising. So I sat down with them for a wonderful episode. Wait until you see the video. It was Nancy's idea that we should conduct the entire video in the motif and theme of Austin. We had cowboy hats on. We talked a little bit about how after the welcome reception that was taking place later that night, Nancy was going to lead a group of people out and do some two-stepping. So we had a great conversation around, I'm not going to talk about everything we talked about, but I will say that streaming TV and how that is highly relevant for grocery advertisers, center store grocery, was the theme of what we were talking about. So I encourage anyone, if you sit there and say, well, I work for a food and beverage manufacturer, what do I care about? It's like, no. You need to understand the power of streaming TV to digitally influence shoppers, not just the ones who are buying it. Like if you're a perishable company, don't say, well, you know what? I don't really sell that much through Amazon. Amazon has such a massive influence on sales through Amazon, but also sales through other retailers. You got to listen to this episode. You're going to be very intrigued.
But for Pete's sake, have curiosity, even if it's not your damn domain. Have curiosity. The world is changing. The consumer doesn't look the same. Okay, that's podcast 1. What did you guys talk about? Sneak preview, please. What can listeners expect?
I think what they're going to start to understand are what are some of the new innovations around streaming advertising, the ability to target and measure. And it is truly a hashtag full funnel mechanism for connecting with Amazon shoppers wherever they are. So that's the real focus of that conversation.
Can we go to the second one?
Yeah, sure. So the second one was actually the midday of day 2. I had the distinct pleasure of speaking with someone who had been on center stage day 1. Paula Despins is vice president for campaign measurement at Amazon Advertising. And she talked a lot about what I discussed in some of the product announcements that were made around things like multi-touch attribution.
Wait. You talked to the VP of measurement for Amazon Ads?
Yeah. So this is very important. This is one reason why every CMO should be there, because the catalyst that will help them realign their budget to embrace retail media, not as a trade tool, but as a full funnel marketing mechanism in a closed loop measurement environment. It is the measurement component. And think about it this, Shri. We've been using for decades alchemy, aka marketing mix modeling, to try and tease out that multi-touch attribution. And you know what? Amazon solved the problem. They've got enough scale and they've got enough refined measurement that they can actually deliver that multi-touch attribution of measurement.
They've also got data. They've got data across platforms.
Yeah, exactly. They've got it up the wazoo, omni-channel data. And then when you consider that with Amazon Marketing Cloud, any of the advertisers can bring their own first-party data to the Party Plus. If they work with companies like Omnicom, right? Omnicom has Omni, which is just another 100 streams of data points with trillions and trillions of signals. you can start integrating that into Amazon Marketing Cloud. Now you can really get the high propensity audience that you're looking for to target your advertising. You know that old saying of John Wanamaker, I know 50% of my advertising doesn't work. I just don't know which 50%. Amazon's starting to address that problem, and multi-touch attribution is a really great example of that, Sri.
So podcasts, main stage, keynotes. Talk to us about some fun parties you went to.
Yeah, so the first night, the first fun party for me.
Did you get on any yachts in Austin on the river?
I did. Well, yeah, I'd call it more of like a floating barge with 2 floors on it, maybe more like a houseboat. But yeah, so here's what we did. I made mention of the fact that Flywheel rented out the top floor of Lambert's Barbecue down on 2nd Street, and they threw a real big party. A lot of the bigwigs from Amazon were there: Paul Kodas, Alan Moss, a handful of others, and a lot of our suppliers there. My friends Jeff Hillens and Phil Smith from 3M, our dear friend Jamie Williams, a recent guest on our podcast from Glanbia. I met a bunch of people from SC Johnson. It was a wonderful group of people, and it was a lovely couple of hours. It had followed a reception that welcome reception that Amazon itself had hosted. I didn't get a chance to see that because I mentioned I came right in from the airport, went and recorded the episode. I kind of needed to go back, I had to record the episode that bled into some of the party, and then I needed to go check into my hotel. So I never really got to see the Amazon party. I'm sure it was good. Everyone said it was very nice. It wasn't over the top or anything. But at the end of the first night, I went on a lovely little sip and sail that had been sponsored by Flywheel. We all met across the river, the south side of Ladybird Lake, by the Hyatt, and we hopped on this boat. It kind of resembled a houseboat, so it had 2 floors, an upper deck and a lower. It was stocked with pizza and soda, beers, water, and what have you. And we all met there at dusk, Shri, and we went out on Ladybird Lake. Do you know what we went looking for on Ladybird Lake at dusk? Do you have any idea what we might have been looking for there, Shri?
In Austin? I have no idea.
Da-na-na-na-na-na-na, Batman.
Oh, bats. Bats in the Belfry.
Yes.
Under the bridge.
We went to see the bats come out from under the bridge. Shri, do you know how many bats are estimated to live under the bridge, the main bridge on Congress Street?
Let me guess. I want to guess.
Take a guess.
7,500.
Keep going. You're not even warm, Shri.
25,000.
I'll give you 2 more guesses. Nope, not even close.
100,000.
One more guess.
250,000.
Shri, they estimate that there are 1.5 million bats living under that bridge that come out at night to go foraging for food. 1.5 million bats.
There are tours to go see the bats in the Belfry.
So you see all these little these bats. They float out. They all stay by the bridge. They all have infrared big beam flashlights, right? So it doesn't disturb the bats, but you can see them. And for about an hour, they come out and they just start swarming. Now, our houseboat kept going under the bridge and then coming back. Now, I am very glad that I wore my customized CPGGUYS cowboy hat, because you know what happens when there are a whole bunch of bats flying in a fury over top of you as you go under them? It's called bat guano. And people started to wonder why they were feeling all these things hitting them all over. Well, I'm glad I had my hat on because it kept my head clean from all the bat dung that was coming out. But yes, that was a lot of fun.
I only know baseball language, so I'm going to say, let's just say the bats were corked. That's what happened.
The bats were corked, Shri.
And so you got some extra projectile power.
And then the best part about it is when we got off the boat, directly adjacent to where they dropped us off was actually where the big Amazon concert was being held on a field, right? So
A field.
everybody marshaled their way over. Amazon unboxed After Dark. And it was hosted, and ready for this, definitely Austin theme, right? The main performers on stage, Miranda Lambert and Lainey Wilson. Wow. They rocked the house, Sheree. They killed it. It was fun had by all.
You got to go. You got to go see this. You got to see Miranda Lambert live.
Phenomenal. So that was day one. That was day one. Day two was there were some keynotes, but they weren't product introductions. They were panels of conversations. And Elton led one, and someone else led another, but they were more talking about how they're using Amazon advertising to succeed. So it was some long form discussions of service providers and brands and how they are leveraging Amazon advertising in numerous different ways.
So the whole industry knows, we've said it enough times on the CPG guys, retail media budgets have been challenged. Did Amazon address that in a panel, a keynote?
Yeah, I think they really they went right after the whole full funnel. They could not have been more explicit about, we're going to help you do upper funnel discovery, and we have the scale to do it. We have the scale, and we have the ability to target audiences. And because we have the scale, even when you start whittling down and refining our audience to get exactly the high interest target audience that you want, it's still sizable enough to move the needle and drive your growth. Because one of the problems with so many retail media networks is, if you start to layer on all of this data and segmentation and you get to an audience that is addressable, it may not be large enough to move the needle. So the question becomes, is the juice worth the squeeze? With Amazon, the juice is worth the squeeze. They let's just say this. What is, if I walk into a room full of 100 people, Sri, it's going to be a lot harder for me to find people who don't have an Amazon app on their phone than it is to find people that do have it on there. By far, most people have Amazon. It's a de rigueur of being anyone who's even digitally connected in this day and age.
Let's talk about networking. One of the greatest advantages of other companies we go to: Shop Talk, Grocery Shop, Possible, Conlines Film Festival, CES. Our list is legendary long. We got two big ones coming up: Drugstore News Issues Summit, and then we have the big P2P live coming up before we head to CES. So talk to me about networking. Did you see a bunch of brands, retailers, friends, family? What did you see?
Of course. Our dear friend Imtiaz Ahmed was there. Our friends from Bayer, Ajay Sharma and he again. And I got to actually meet Carlene Clay, who is the Amazon account lead for Bayer. So that was a new introduction. I had my friends from 3M there. I saw Vivek Rastogi from Colgate Palmolive, and his colleague Keith Lehman, who both of them report up to our friend Jamie Schwab. And Keith is now responsible for digital commerce marketing on a global basis. So retail media is his bag, baby. And so, of course, he was going to be at this event. But I saw the whole crew, your posse from your old company, General Mills. Raquel Navarsky was there, Jenny Needham. They were all there. I think Jenny actually did a breakout session on stage. So
Jamie.
Lots of good. Yeah, the brands were there and for it. Jamie. So, they were on. They were in full force. Lots and lots of brands, and I was doing lots of networking. I was generally speaking in the vicinity of the Flywheel booth, and did that. I can also say that there were actually Amazon Ad Partner Awards. There was a ceremony on the afternoon of day one, and I'm very.
Oh.
I know, it was very exciting. Very exciting.
Who won? Do tell. Who won? What you see? Who won? Brands, agencies?
Well, there were quite another. I'm proud to say there was one company that actually won, not just one, but two Ad Partner Awards.
Was that the CPG guys?
I'll give you three. It was not, but it was actually Flywheel. Flywheel won for Challenger, and they won for creative effectiveness. So two big badges. Could not be more proud of my colleagues for having won that recognition that we help Challenger brands, that we deliver creative effectiveness in the work we do. There were a number of other winners, and and that's great. That I think spreading the love and recognizing great work by any company is obviously important. I can just say, from my perspective, I could not be prouder of my colleagues from Flywheel for having won two of the awards. That was definitely a big highlight of day one.
Well, congratulations to you. Congratulations to Flywheel for winning the award. As we wrap up this episode, Peter, did I miss anything about Unbox? And more importantly, what is your recommendation to brands? Will you show up?
Yeah, one thing, very big thing. The big thing is that it's not going to be in Austin next year. It's going to be in Nashville. So, Sheree, we're going to do a little more honky tonkin' next year. You and me in Nashville will get our cowboy boots on. I know we've got our cowboy hats. We're ready to go. But I would just say this: this is focused exclusively on Amazon. But don't think that you shouldn't be there because your sole focus is in Amazon. Amazon's the big 800-pound gorilla in this space. They are where the innovation in retail media is occurring.
Nashville.
You need to be there. Everyone else is there. Nashville next fall. Amazon Unboxed 2025. Put it on your calendar and make sure you're there. As you know, my colleague Claudia Johnson, who we're going to have on the podcast shortly, she lives in Nashville, so she's really liking this because she doesn't have to go anywhere. But it's going to be downtown at the convention center.
Can I close this out with my favorite song from the seventh inning stretch at Yankee Stadium? Classic honky-tonk song, representative of Nashville.
Go ahead.
If I haven't been for Cotton Eye Joe, I've been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
Oh my God, you are a wealth of musical knowledge, Sheree. I think your daughters have rubbed off on you, but or maybe just the Yankees have. But in any event, it was a good show. I'm sorry that you weren't able to join us. You had some other commitments. Hopefully next year we'll be there together. But I loved it. I will say this final thing, Sheree, and it's back to what I started off with, which is Accelerate versus Unboxed. You go to an Accelerate conference and they introduced innovations, and you need to understand how you play to the audience. The audience at an Accelerate conference are the founders. They are the people who built that business from the ground up, and oftentimes they're still very much hands-on keyboard. So when you introduce a new AI tool that takes the copy off a package flat and fully builds out a PDP page with relevant content that helps you win SEO, that audience goes crazy. Okay? All these announcements I talked to about this event, you got to understand that most of the people in that room are people who are several steps away from hands-on keyboard. And so fundamentally, they understand the value prop and they're happy about it. But it's much more like you're at Augusta National watching the Masters. It's like, oh, good golf clap, right?
Are we going to the Masters next year?
It's not a criticism. It's not a criticism. It's just a recognition that, Amazon ads, and I actually met someone who was a seller who lives up the road from Austin, saw that Amazon had a conference. The ticket price was pretty cheap, and she ended up buying a ticket and coming. She got here, and I think she was a little surprised, and I don't want to say disappointed, but it wasn't really for her, because this was for big enterprise brands, big agencies spending vast amounts of money, not really for a seller. So I would say sellers, Accelerate. You'll have a great time. You'll learn a lot. You'll build a really great network and a community. Vendors, got to be at Amazon Unboxed. It's a place to be. A lot of networking, a lot of new innovation. and it will help you in your full funnel evolution, your full funnel marketing strategy. That's what unBoxed about. I had a great time, Sri. Sorry, couldn't be there with you. That you were unable to join, but still did my very best and saw so many of our friends, many of whom I'd seen the prior week down at out in Las Vegas at grocery shop. So that's my take, and I'm sticking to it, Sri.
That's awesome, Peter. Let me remind the audience that you can find all of our content by simply going to a web browser and typing cpgguys.com in the URL. If you think you or your company has thought leadership to contribute to our community discussion, drop us an email at contact@cpgguys.com and maybe you can join us on the podcast. Don't forget to drop us a rating at cpgguys.com in the navigation bar up top. Thank you to our thousands of followers, your clicks, likes, DMs, recording live shows with us, appearing on the podcast, taking meetings with us, our sponsors, taking meetings with us at conferences, recording at conferences. We can't say thank you enough times. Thank you. Peter, thank you for joining me and unboxing unboxed. You like that?
Sheree, I do, and I think there might very well be a CPG Guys kickoff party to unBoxed 2025. You heard it here first.
Nashville and
get in. Make sure you get in time the day before, because the CPG Guys know how to rock the house.
And the theme song will be Cotton Eye Joe.
Cotton Eye Joe. I don't know about that, but there will be honky talking, and I think we may have to get some custom cowboy boots made, Sheree.
Thank you, Peter.
Size 15, of course. Size 15.
Thank you, Peter. That's a wrap of this episode of the CPG Guys.
The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPG Guys LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPG Guys LLC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPG Guys LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPG Guys LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.